Hi, welcome back. If you've been here before, if this is your first time, welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Snetemba, and I am going to talk about a topic today that I don't think we talk about enough, honestly, in my opinion. It's a little bit sensitive. I think that it touches on something that most people haven't really grappled with, and I understand that fully, but I think it is still important to discuss, right? And it's sort of a mixture between just, pressure and performance and self-worth. So tying your self-worth to your performance. If there's anyone who is guilty of this, it's me. 100%. So I really wanna, because I've read a little bit about it and I've sort of watched a lot of podcasts, which is like something that I do a lot. There are kids running outside. I do watch a lot of podcasts and I try to do research, sort of understand myself and doing therapy and, just sort of understanding why we do things that we do. It's one of the things that I came across and I found interesting and I want to share with you guys, right? So what exactly is tying self-worth to performance? So essentially, let's start from the beginning, right? From when we are raised, because where things start, right? When we are raised, some people or sort of understand that no matter what you do, you have worth. You are worthy of love, you are worthy of the attention, you are worthy of everything. From birth, you don't have to do anything. Just you being alive is a blessing in the world, and it's a nice addition, right? We accept it. And then there are people who sort of, not really intentionally, but they have their self-worth tied to their performance or doing certain things a certain way, right? So say, for example, you first start getting good grades. And for the first time, people are paying attention to you. People are like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And then something happens in you, right? Your brain goes, this is great. We need to do this often. We need to get good grades so that people can love us, right? Or with some people, it happens when they start dating. I remember I was watching this comedian who said she really came from an abusive household, and then she was overweight and she was bullied for that, and then she started dating these men, and every time she would give her body or herself, they would sort of give her positive assurance, they would really acknowledge her. And then she tied her self-worth into allowing men to sort of play with her body and whatnot. So it really varies. It's different for everyone. But for me personally, it was based on performance, right? So that's what I did. In high school, I did very well. Academically, I was an art student and, teachers loved me. And I was like, yes. I need to continue doing this. Now, it's not like I was waking up every morning saying, oh, Sneh, today, how are you going to, do well so that people like you? But as I was, getting the positive feedback for my performance, it registered in my brain that that's what you need for people to like you, for the world to accept you. So I did that, right? High school, got the good grades, went to varsity. In varsity, I performed. It was harder, obviously, because it's varsity. You know what I mean? There's a lot going on there. But, the feedback loop kept on happening. And I was like, okay, fine. If I do this, I get this back. Fine. And then I left university. I graduated in 2023. And I started working in 2024 as a consultant at McKinsey. And all of that came crashing down. All of it. Because now, for the first time, actually, just going back, I think it first started happening in honors. I was still performing, but it wasn't as great as I did in undergrad. So, I graduated very well undergrad with distinction, and in honors, it wasn't as great, but I still got good grades. So, it was still there. I was still like, okay, fine. I'm still worthy because I'm doing well, right? And then everything came crashing down when I started working as a consultant at McKinsey, like I said, and it just wasn't happening. And because the real world is different, your grades don't mean as much, sometimes your input doesn't equal to your output, because in varsity, or in school, if you study consistently, if you consult, if you do your homework, if you do up with your research, if you and I was that girl, you will get the right feedback, right? You will get the right grades. But that's not how it works in the real world. In the real world, you need to network, you need to find your people. You need to be able to communicate effectively. You need to be able to sell yourself. You need to be able to sell your ideas. Communication is so important. And not only that, just like being able to get things done quickly. It doesn't matter, the quality doesn't matter, you just need to get things done, right? Especially in consulting where I worked. And because I was failing so much at that, I started questioning my self-worth. And it sort of became very real. And I didn't, like I said, these things don't happen like a movie. Like, you don't just watch them happen live and you go, yes, my self-worth, it's going down, it's going up, it's going down. No, it happens subconsciously. So now I went home thinking, oh my God, I suck as a person because I cannot cut it in, quote unquote, cut it. No, it didn't matter whether or not, why didn't I cut it? And maybe I might make a video about that in the future of why it didn't work in consulting. But it wasn't really a question of why you're not doing well in consulting. It was a question of use. It was a situation where I was saying to myself, you suck because you can't do this. Doesn't matter why. The why doesn't matter. It's like, you can't. This is, you were supposed to be showing up. You can't, therefore you're worth downstream, right? Now, there are sort of, as you can imagine, there's sort of there's a very dark side to this, because we are humans, we make mistakes. We're not gonna be, achieving all the time. So what does that mean, right? But that's not what I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what that does for your growth, right? It's all fun and well if you are doing well and you know what I mean, it has nothing to do with your personal growth, right? And you just move on with your life. But in order for you to grow in any way, shape, or form, you need to make mistakes. Mistakes and being terrible at something and embarrassing yourself is what you need to grow in anything that you do. So if you don't allow yourself to make mistakes, you will not grow in any way, shape, or form. Think about it, right? So, and I think there was a study that was sort of done where a group of people they were both supposed to, I think it was an art project, right? They told one group, oh, you have 6 months to produce. I think I'm probably butchering the study, but you're gonna get this general sense of what I'm trying to say, right? From the study, okay, you have 6 months to produce this one image. It has to be perfect, right? And the other ones, they were you can fail as much as you want. They both had 6 months, and the other group, they're you can fail as much as you want. You can, do it as much as you want, but in the end, we wanna see whose project is better. The people who failed many, many times had a much better project than people who had 6 months and only to produce it once. Even though it was annoying for the people who had to do it multiple times because they had to submit multiple, they had to iterate many times, whatever. It sucked, as opposed to people who just look at it today and then go tomorrow and look at it tomorrow and be try to fix it. But eventually, the people who had to do it many, many times had a better project, right? What does that mean? It means that it's even in, I read a book, Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett, one of my favorite people in the world. He also said that, right, in his book, that you need to fail many, many times for anything to, this is it's sort of becoming a cliche now. You failing makes things better, So you do need to fail, right? But if you have tied your self-worth to the failure, it's going to suck. So whenever you fail, it's not really about the project. It's about you as a person. It's about me, Snake. Oh my gosh, I have failed. Oh my gosh, I'm a bad person. Oh my gosh, this is the worst time of my life. Now, I can't go anywhere with that because I'm going to fail many times. So I'm going to do that many, many times. It's just not going to be sustainable. So that's what I think this is. So I guess it sort of shines a light on how the things that start from when we are kids, from when we are children, from when we are still young and we teach ourselves these things, they sort of creep up on us when we are adults, right? In the sense that I didn't know this. When I was a child and they praised me, to me it wasn't this is gonna F me up in the future when I tell myself what it is. I didn't think about that. I just thought about how good it felt. And what does our body want? It wants to feel good. Our mind wants to feel good. So it reminds you of the things that made you feel good all the time, right? So because I wanted to feel good all the time, I remembered just how much great it felt when I succeeded. So then I tied that to my self-worth and it stopped me from learning. Now, does this mean that this is gonna work perfectly all the time? No. I mean, I don't wanna go back to consulting like that and McKinsey like that and like, you know, change things. I don't think that's what I want to do, but I do think that it's gonna be so much beneficial for me not to tie my self-worth into failure, because I need to fail to do well, right? So we can sort of think about this in other scenarios and other spaces also, in that, say for example, you tie your self-worth to money. Ooh, that's a big one. It genuinely is. There are people who maybe when they grow up in like a poor family or poor background, and so and then they go to school, and when you go to school with many people, some rich, some poor. So you could see that the richer ones, the people or the kids who are more well off, were more valued, quote unquote, than you who wasn't as well off. So then now you like, yeah, I think in order for me to be worthy of life in the society, I need to be well off. And then you make money, and then you get positive feedback from that. Oh, it's gonna screw you up. And I think I see it mostly in like South African men, or like men in general, when they get money and then they see someone who has money and has all the women, and they're like, yes, money is everything. My self-worth is tied to money. And they start working all crazy hours, and they do things that are immoral to get the money because self-worth is tied to the money. It could just be also just status, right? I want status, so no matter what happens, I need to do whatever I need to do to get there. Those things shouldn't, I feel like they hurt more when you don't get them. So then what happens if you get the money and then something happens? Maybe your family or some family member gets sick, or you lose all that money. You're gonna tie that to yourself, and it's gonna be such a self-reflection. Oh, did I fail as a person because I don't have the money anymore? Which is not helpful for anyone, right? So yeah, some of my thoughts actually just now when I had all this time, I was like, this is interesting. We sort of tie ourselves into these worldly things that fluctuate so much. But if you just understood that you as a person, and I've had a conversation with my friend about this, that you as a person are worthy regardless of what you have, regardless of what you wear, regardless of your status, then you are bound to live a better life, no? Because then even if you lose the money, even if you fail that test, even if you don't get that deal, even if you don't get that girl, you are still worthy, no? And you are still gonna be fine, right? So, and that won't stop you from trying again, because then now you're gonna be, or when you do lose the money, now you are depressed, or you don't even want to go and try again because it was so scary the first time. So I do think that there's value in trying to separate ourselves from things that have nothing to do with us, because failure has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with the project. I will say also that, I'm also learning from that. I'm still not perfect. I still do tell a lot of myself. I still see those habits creeping in. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I gonna fail? What does that mean about me? Blah, 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 blah. And it has nothing to do with you at all. So yeah, that's my 2 cents for this video. I hope you like it. Please like and subscribe if you do. I'll see you on the next one.